Happy New Year, folks. It is the last Tuesday in December. It's Austin Homeowners Financial. And we're talking about the new year. We're talking about plans, right? It's resolutions, it's ideas. Certainly this year is very, very different than the last, and we know the next one will be different as well. I'm actually doing a webinar tonight on should I wait or buy and giving some data on that overall. So if you're interested, let me know. We still have some spots left for that. But if we're talking about how do we save to buy a house this year, I want to make sure there's two different buckets of costs and then a couple tactical plans. So from a bucket of cost perspective, you have your down payment, right? That's your percentage, 3%, 5%, 10%, right? Like whatever that number is, right? So that's a percentage. And then you have your closing costs. And here in California, we have loan fees, which are your appraisal, your underwriting, credit report, things that are related to making sure the loan's in place and compliant. You have title and escrow fees. Escrow is a neutral third party that takes in documentation money, sends out documentation money, and there's splits between that. And in your offer, you actually say who pays for what. But the most expensive and the most variable part are what's called prepaid items. And those are your recurring costs of home ownership. You prepay at closing. Property taxes, interest, insurance. So the lump sum of this bucket, this closing costs bucket, I typically tell people to be 1 and 2% of your sales price. And the reason that it's that big of a difference is that some loans require that you pay your taxes and insurance up front with your mortgage payment, right? That's a bigger chunk you'd have to save for. Maybe you're buying points, right? There's extra costs to get that loan so that we can qualify for it. So 1 to 2% is goal. Now let's switch gears as far as a tactic standpoint. The first thing I tell clients is pretend today like you're making these payments, right? So if you get paid twice a month and that payment's due on the first, how do you need to shift the savings or the allocation, right? Do you need to like spend half of this, save your other half of the paycheck, put it in a separate account, do deposits, right? But pretend like you're making that payment each month. And of course, that payment's probably higher than your rent, maybe not in some cases, but that difference just suck away into a savings account, right? So step 1, pretend like you're making that payment each month. Step 2, move to cash. There's this thing called actual cash and money. It's so easy to just swipe and click and tap, and there's all the cooties around money and stuff too. So you can do it a couple different ways, but if you're backing into a budget, remember we got budget classes on this too. If you're backing into your budget, establish how much you can spend each week and take that amount out in cash, and then don't spend more than that. So for an example, for my husband and I, when we first got married, he's actually dyslexic. So he'd be like, oh, I spent $23. No, he spent $24.97, and we'd go over, and get withdrawn for $1.97, right? Because I'm balancing it to the penny. So when we switched to this cash, it did two things. First of all, I was like, here's your $100 for the week. That's your gas, that's your eating out, your lunches, whatever you want to buy, right? That was our rules. And you can spend it on whatever you want. So that first gave him freedom that he can do whatever he want without me being like, oh, so you went out to lunch with so-and-so, right? It removes discord. It also allows him to spend as he wishes. So if one week he spent $20, then he could roll the $80 over for something else that he wanted, right? Gives you a little bit more tactical freedom, especially when there's two earners or two folks spending in the household. Sit down, work in your budget, right? So the first tactic is save 1 to 2%, right? Make sure you're pretending that you're paying that payment. Step 2 is live on cash. And step 3 is back into where you think you're gonna have your sales price plus 5%. And the reason I say that is this gives you a buffer for negotiation. So if you're gonna buy a house for $500,000, make these savings goals, make these payment goals based on $525,000. That's going to give you some reserves. That's going to give you the ability to do upgrades and negotiate. So those are my 3 tactics, right? Anything I can do to help you or anyone else, please let me know. It's all about having that plan and executing for the long run. It's Austin Homeowners Financial. Make it a great day.